West Virginia University Center for Excellence in Disabilities. www.cedwvu.org. Circle of Parents Group. You can learn more about the Circle of Parents and Paths for Parents program by visiting our website, www.cedwvu.org. The Paths for Parents project is funded by the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, Office of Maternal, Child, and Family Health, Children with Special Health Care Needs program. Circle of Parents, join the discussion. Tips to surviving virtual learning with special guest Jessica Bohman, a mother of children with special needs. Erika Hastings is your host. And special guest Jessica Bohman.
Hello, and thank everybody for being here. My name is Erika Hastings, and I am a parent and family network specialist with WVU Center for Excellence in Disabilities. And today I am super excited to have a very awesome mother on here with me to discuss virtual learning and all the things that she's doing with her children. And her name is Jessica Bohman. Awesome. So, Jessica, you want to tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. Again, my name is Jessica Bohman, and I have 4 kids, 3 that are autistic. I have a 7-year-old boy. He's almost 8. He's autistic. I have a 6-year-old son who is non-speaking and uses an AAC device. And I have a 5-year-old daughter. Oh my gosh, she would not be okay with me saying that she's 4. She's opinionated. She's not autistic. She's opinionated. And then I have a 3-year-old daughter who is also autistic. We have a very busy household. We also, on top of doing virtual learning, we do ABA in our home and OT, speech, you name it. We do those therapies virtually and in person here. So we're like an open center. Yes, you could say. Come on in. Oh, man.
So, what made you choose virtual schooling over sending the kids in person?
Well, at first we didn't have a choice, obviously, when the pandemic hit. Yeah. And that actually, and I was telling somebody this the other day, that saved us. The pandemic saved us. I know a lot of people might feel differently, but it saved us. MJ, my oldest son, who is almost 8, was having a very tough year in his kindergarten year. We still don't know to this day what really happened. He has a lot of PTSD from it, and him having to come home and no longer be a part of that classroom and be a part of that school, it turned his life around. He was no longer aggressive. He was no longer trying to say hateful things. And he was learning finally. He didn't know the days of the week. Now he can tell you the days of the week. He can count all the way to 100. It saved him. It saved our family. So that in itself is why it was a good thing for him. And that's why we continued, because it has been life-changing for MJ to be home and to have that connection with the family and to learn that way. And then also for health reasons, we wanted to keep him as healthy as possible. For Aaron, the reason why we chose the virtual learning over going in person, Aaron's not able to wear a mask. And right now the schools are mandating that kids wear a mask the whole day at school. And Aaron's not able to do that. And that was a concern for us. And another concern for us is that our kids are going to go to school and that's all they're going to see is people in masks. And we don't want that to be their normal. We want their normal to be them seeing people without masks on, that they know that that's the normal. So we're trying to protect our kids the best that we know how to do. And also with Aaron, because he doesn't have those social boundaries, he doesn't understand to not go and not get in somebody's face or sit on top of somebody, or he doesn't have those social boundaries, I guess, what I already said. We just felt it was in his best interest to be home. And kind of like with MJ, this saved us with him. He got to start working with a speech therapist through the school virtually out of Pittsburgh. Can't tell you how she came into our lives. He didn't have a speech therapist while he was in pre-K. He was one of the kids that kind of got the short end of the stick. So she came in when the pandemic started, and she has just been a godsend virtually. And I'm not going to give up that for nothing. She is amazing. She has changed our life. She has changed Aaron's life. He is communicating more. He's using more words. He's using his AAC device like it's supposed to be used. And then the WVU Speech and Hearing Center, they had a new student working with him, and she changed my life. I was able to start sitting in the sessions because I have to help him use his AC device, like, because it was virtually. And before he was going in person. So I was just sitting and watching. I wasn't a part of the session. But being virtually, I have to sit there and make sure because he's really good at navigating out of anything. He doesn't want to stay in it. So if he has an iPad in front of him, he's not going to stay there. So I sit there and I help and I navigate stuff. She brought to my attention that I was communicating for him and I was not letting him speak. So I started backing off and letting him use his voice. That changed my life. That's going to make me cry. I started letting him have his voice and use his communication and his communication device. I even, for his birthday this year, which was in September, because this is when I met her, I let him pick what he wanted for his birthday instead of me choosing, because I knew what he liked. He chose something totally different than I would have chosen. And I'm so proud of him. So now when I have decisions to make, I don't make them, but and concerning him, I let him make them. And that changed my life. So for the pandemic, like for us, this has been life changing. Like this virtual school, yeah, it's rough. It's really hard. I don't like it some days. I have panic attacks some days because I don't feel like I'm doing enough for my kids. But it has been amazing because I have given my son his voice back, or I've given him a voice. I was his voice. I no longer take that role. I'm his advocate. I am not his voice anymore. And that is huge for me. Like, I still have times where I would love to speak for him, and I do sometimes, and I have to stop myself. But oh my gosh, like that has changed my whole approach to his education, to everything for him. Just because two speech therapists were like, well, how about you just let him do it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was doing that. Mm-hmm. So these two people virtually, if this had not happened, I would have never realized I was doing that. So we chose virtual because it's what has been working for them. But also for Aaron, he picks up germs like nothing else. He could go walk into a room and then come home and he's going to get sick. So it's for safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have.
Anyway,
you made me cry.
I made myself cry, and I hope that made sense.
That's
I don't know.
Touching, and that's so important for all parents. You know what I mean? Like as our kids get older, whether they have a disability or not, like we need to teach them and let them have their voice and teach them to advocate and stand up for themselves and, all of that. And it just makes me think, even when my kids were younger, like, oh, I know what they like. Oh, I can get them this, I can get them that. So that's very, regardless, disability across all boards of having children, like, let them tell you, let them kind of like lead the way. Of course, we're still supposed to parent them and make sure they don't
Yeah.
make really bad decisions or whatever. But just like him picking out what he wants for his birthday, and you thought you would know, and he picked something, totally different. Like, let them lead us and tell us what they want. That's
And
very
he's
good. That's very good advice all around the board.
but he's talking so much more now because of it, because I'm not talking for him.
Talking for him. That's
He's using that AAC device now, and he's using his words more now. Like, I have heard him use words I would have never thought he would ever use. He is to a place where I thought this would never happen in his life.
Mm-hmm.
All because we've chose virtual. And like I said, there are times when I would love to pull my hair out and go sit in a hospital and let people just feed me something to help me calm down, because I'm like, wow, I can't do this anymore. I've had times where I just break down in a corner because I'm like, I am not doing this. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. But then I see Aaron talking, and he's communicating, and he's using his device, and he's thriving. And I'm like, what is going on? But it's all because we're letting him.
So, I guess you seen the progress that the children are making. So even though you have those feelings and you have those moments and times, seeing the progress that your kids have been making is what keeps you going, would you say?
Yeah. Lately, I would say with MJ, he's reverting back to his ways of being aggressive and hateful, but I think it's wearing on him that we've been inside, and he doesn't have any of that social interaction. But I think that's pretty typical of kids, but I think definitely kids that struggle in the social area anyways.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of his IEP goals, and he doesn't have that. He really is struggling. I mean, to a point where I feel helpless.
And I wonder if a part of that, do you think, is weather related too? You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it's so cold, and even trying to get children out to be active is not as easy as it was, say, in the summertime, when you
Right.
get them out, they could burn off some energy out in the yard or whatever. When it's colder, yeah, you can take them out for a little bit, but you don't want them out too long because the cold lowers I've always been told the cold kind of doesn't make you sick, but it makes you more susceptible, because when your
Right.
body gets cold, it's trying to work on warming yourself up. So then
Right.
it makes you more susceptible to getting sick.
Right.
Do you think that might have something to do with it also, weather related?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know seasonally I have those moments too, and it always seems to be winter, and I think a lot of people
I do too.
And he definitely is displaying some of that, and it's hard to watch. It's hard, and I sometimes don't know how to respond. The great thing is working alongside of his teacher. I think not all teachers are created equal. That's
Right.
that's true. But we were blessed this year to be placed in a classroom with a teacher that goes over and beyond. She is one of those teachers that you read about and you're like, wow, those people exist. She exists. And she has gone over and beyond for MJ and just wants to make sure that we have everything we need. And she's there to answer the questions, and she's there to support him. So through this, I can ask her, like, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? Like, there's times when I feel alone, but she's always there to like bring me back up. And it's really nice. And I think that's why we've been able to stay virtual. And I know that not everybody has had that. And that's really unfortunate. Like with Aaron, his teacher's not always there, but she's there. Like
Mhm.
she tries her best, but she's not, it's not the same because he really needs more of that special education. Where MJ needs the teacher and special ed combined. Aaron's more special education. His special education teacher has been amazing. But with MJ, it's been rough. But she's really come and filled in those gaps for me. Hi, Michael.
I just want the pink ball, Dad.
Okay, hold on. Please. Applesauce. There you go. All right. Thank you, Michael. Okay, go.
Mom, can you open this is applesauce?
Sure, she can come up and bring it to me.
Because a mother is never done.
Ever, ever.
So I have seen on some of your social media how you have set up learning areas for the children. So if you could take a moment and show us kind of like what you have set up.
Yeah, and like I was, like you've probably seen, and I'm gonna backtrack. We first had a downstairs. We're upstairs right now. Downstairs, we had the setup of in our back room, which was our dining room at the time. We had them set up at the table, our big table back there, and that proved to not be the best place because there's too much traffic in and out. And MJ would get super distracted, and those chairs are not the most comfortable, and the table was too high, and we could not figure out the right place for MJ. And he would just like his body would do this. He would fall out of the chairs because he doesn't have a lot of good core strength. So then we moved what we have right now. We moved it into our front room, which is our living room, but there was no door to close. So basically, he would be out there doing his work on his team call with his teacher, or do like watching a video and having to follow along and do his work. Or I would be teaching him something that we were supposed to be learning with his class. Same thing with Aaron, and people would just be walking by. The girls would be screaming. They'd be trying to watch their like a TV show, and I'd be like, "Turn it off! No, you're not supposed to be watching that." And they'd be like, "But I'm watching it too." Hold please. More applesauce. Okay, go. So it would just got too much. So then my husband and I decided our girls' room would be the perfect spot, and it actually has been. We have this set up. You can see the two applesauce things. So it's their table, which we have been. Oh, you can't really see it. We were blessed. We actually, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My husband had the great idea to ask our school district if they had any old tables in their warehouse that they weren't using, and they actually gifted us that table.
Oh, that's awesome. I never could have thought to ask.
Yeah, because we said, if we're going to be doing virtual learning with your teachers and you're making us, can we have a table? And they said, sure. So that was amazing. I got these posters off of Amazon. It was like $20. And it's been awesome because Aaron, when we do like the months of the year, not the months, the seasons, he'll point to these when we read, or can you see that?
Yes.
When we do his like little song through special ed, he'll point to what season that we're singing about. And then there's like the colors and the alphabet. I don't know what you can see.
I can see the months of the year. Oh, that's awesome. You said you got these off of Amazon?
Yeah, it's just like it was like a 20 pack for like $20. And they're really good quality. They come
looks like they're already laminated.
Yeah, they come pre-laminated. And I also had an emotion one up. I think one of the kids tore it down. Isn't that great? And they're probably emotional. And then we have we put a whiteboard up too. So when MJ has his sight words that we're working on, I put those up, or his spelling words. I don't know if you can see that. I put those up for the week, and so he sees those.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of simple. And then in here, you can see the light. I have all their schoolwork right there.
Okay, so it's all in one spot and handy.
Yeah. So I have each bag for each kid. So like Aaron's bag is right here. And then my daughter, the 5-year-old, is right here. And then MJ's bag. And then other schoolwork and pencils and pens and markers, whatever we might need. It's all in one area. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but it really works. And then we also have this too. We have like a station if I need extra stuff. Right there.
Okay. Well, that looks really good.
Go ahead.
So since it's in your daughter's room, I know when I was young, I used to like playing school. Like that was one thing that we did as children. So is that area like just for schooling? If the kids want to like play right there, are they allowed to separated or?
We try to encourage them to play in the boys' room during the day. So we kind of try to separate that. But if they come in here and school's not going on, we try not to make it such a huge deal. Oh, we also have this too on the back of the door. It says January. That's how awesome I am. But it's awesome because I got this off of Amazon as well. Like you can see like what the weather is, what the day of the week is. Nice. This is fun too. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
No. But that's awesome. Yeah, they can come up here if they really want to. Like I try not to be like, I try to make it a fun environment for them, but also they know that when school is happening, they're not allowed in here.
Yeah.
So MJ is in here doing something, which now that he's up here and working, he can do some independent stuff, which before he couldn't be independent. Like it was too hard for him. Now that he's up here and I can shut the door, he can do some stuff by himself, which is pretty awesome. Yes, Michael. So this room has been a really awesome thing. All of my kids are coming out to see me.
It's fine.
I hear Aaron especially because I can hear his very loud pad coming.
So does each kid have their own set schedule? Do you
Can we play taps?
at one time?
Go in the other room.
Mom, can I open it?
In a minute. Okay, I'll be right there.
I want the pink one.
Well, I'm on it right now. Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm going to sit here with you.
Oh my word. Genesis, go please. Holy moly.
Wow.
They're my loves. See here. Oh my goodness. Every kid does have a set schedule. MJ, I set his schedule so that we do his reading and anything else that he has to do for school, like between the hours of 10 and noon. And then, oh my word, this is my life. Welcome to my life. Okay, MJ, go. Oh my goodness, they're all in here. It's in the refrigerator. Welcome to virtual schooling.
We want this to be real. This is real life.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
That's the best friend in the whole world. And then Aaron, with his virtual schooling, like I was saying earlier, I was having panic attacks with Aaron. And I was trying my best to do all of his work in the morning time. And I was never feeling like we were connecting with the kindergarten work. They were giving me everything that a regular kindergartner would do. And we're not sure how much Aaron truly understands. I believe he's super smart, but he's not able to, I don't know the wording, but he wasn't connecting with the stuff. Like I felt like I was doing it all and then making sure he was looking at it while I was doing it or trying to help me, or I was doing a lot of like, I was having him put his hand over my hand and I was doing it and we were talking about it and we were watching all the videos, which was really great. But I finally got to a point because I was having so many anxiety attacks and panic attacks that I reached out to the school and I said, listen, this isn't working. I am dying. Like, I can't do this. Aaron should not be getting regular kindergarten curriculum. He is a special needs student, and they were only giving him 1 hour a week of special ed when he was supposed to be getting at least 2 hours a day. So I got a hold of them, and now he goes in at the end of school when all the kids are leaving, and he goes in for 2 hours a day with special ed, with the special ed teacher directly, and they do not send home any additional work, but stuff that he can do, like the videos and more like easier worksheets. And then we do that during like his ABA therapy time, and that's 12:30 to 3:30. No, that just changed. I'm telling you, it's all crazy. He just switched his times where he has some mornings for ABA. So he does that work in the mornings on Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings. Monday afternoons, he has ABA. So he does some of that work on Mondays. And then on Wednesdays, he has that same schedule in the afternoons. And then he goes and sees his special education teacher Wednesday mornings. But then he sees her Tuesday afternoons, Thursday afternoons, and Friday afternoons. So it's all crazy, but it really works. It took a huge burden off of me that I wasn't having to do this kindergarten curriculum by myself.
Yeah.
And they were meeting me where I needed them to meet me, because they weren't then giving me this huge amount of work to do for a kid that really they needed to modify it, and they weren't doing that. So I finally had to make them do that.
Well, it sounds like the school system that you're dealing with in your county has really been very helpful and instrumental.
Yes.
Helping you to be able to get through the virtual learning. So what kind of advice would you give parents who are not being as successful as at getting that help from the school system?
Man, my advice, because I think at first with like the whole Aaron thing, like I wasn't getting that. And I was starting to document everything. And so I would say my first advice would be document. So document every time that you've emailed, you've called. So if you called, you then send an email, which is something that a lot of parents of kids with disabilities, we learn that you always want to have a paper trail. You don't want to just have a phone call trail. You want to have a paper trail. And then you just want to continue to reach out, look at your IEPs, make sure that if you have, per se, a child like Aaron, that the special ed teacher or teachers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, whether virtually or you have every right if you want to, because a lot of us are choosing to do virtual. If you want to, like Aaron, he goes when no other students are there, which is my preference. And then we do everything else virtually. You have that option. And he goes the 3 or 4 days a week there. But before, we were doing everything virtually, and I was making her call him, and we were doing that here. And that was only 1 hour a week. And I actually had no idea, because I am a busy mom and cannot memorize everything in the IEPs. And something I am learning for myself is I was actually talking to somebody today. I need to go through my IEPs, and I'm going to write myself bullet points. And that's what I was going to actually say, like bullet points of what is in their IEP and what is necessary, what they should be doing. And then that helps you remember, because I had no idea that he was supposed to be getting like so many minutes per week. I had no idea he was supposed to be getting 2 hours per day. Mm-hmm. That shocked me. I was like, what? You're only giving him 1 hour per week. I was shocked. And they actually gave me some pushback at first. I would maybe get an advocate if you have a, can't think of the word right now. There's a parent rights what are they called? Oh my gosh, my brain is not working. But I have a disability advocate through
You have
them.
WVPTI. Don't you have one through WVPTI?
Yes, PT. Yes. Yes. So I would get an advocate and then let them know, hey, this is not, I would start with there, and then they will help you as much as they can. And then they'll let you know what the next step is. Because sometimes they would say, let's do this next. Or they might tell you, talk to the legal services. And there are legal people that do this. They will take your call. They'll listen to you. They'll see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the corrector.
Disability Rights West Virginia.
Thank you, because my kids came up and now my brain is like, and that's what happens, and that's okay, and that is okay, and that's why us as parents, we have to have people like you, Erica, and like other people around. We have to be surrounded by other people or we will drown. I would drown. I tell my husband all the time, I would not make it if I did not have other people that knew what they were talking about. Because all I do is put one foot in front of the other, and I try my best, and I do everything that I can do for my kids. Whether it's gonna go or not go, I go a lot with what my gut says. I say, oh my gosh, Aaron is not doing well. 1 hour a week, that doesn't seem right for him. So I say something. And if they were gonna come back and say no, I already told them, I said, I'm ready to go to the next level. So if you don't want to do this, I will go. And they were like, okay, so we'll go ahead and do this. His special education teacher wasn't so happy with me that I went and told the special education director, and I included everybody in my email, but I already know that you have to include certain people to get what you need sometimes. And that's okay.
And I think that's really good advice, you know, that if you are having issues,
Mom, can you open it?
that
Can
with
you
your
open
secretary,
it
you
into the
include the
paper?
special education director in that email, because they'll see all the responses and all those emails through that whole thread, you know, and that person's going to be more likely to, you know, intervene and say, no,
Yes.
this is what's written, this is what we need to do for the child.
And yeah, and honestly, you shouldn't. I have a really hard time with controversy. I don't like thinking people don't like me. I like to be liked. And I always want to be everybody's friend. And I finally came to a point with all this advocacy stuff for my kids and learning all this, especially with the virtual schooling, that I'm not here to be the school district's friend. I'm here to advocate for my kids and make sure that they have what they need. I will be nice, and I want to work with these people. Absolutely. I want to collaborate. But if I feel like they're not getting what they need, then what are the next steps of what I have to do? Talk to somebody else and find out. And that's what I did. I actually found out from a different school personnel person. I told them what Aaron was getting, and they were like, whoa, that's not correct. And I was like, really? I had no idea. And they were the ones who got the ball rolling for me, just saying, maybe you need to talk to the special education director. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I sent an email like right away. You just have to sometimes put yourself aside to make sure your kid has what they need. Kids.
I think that's wonderful advice. One of the things I want to talk to you about is discipline, because we know as much as we want our children to be these perfect little angels, you know, and we think that sometimes when we're pregnant that they're going to be perfect little angels. But
mine are so perfect.
but they tend at times not to be.
True.
So if you're having an issue with them in school, like how do you separate that from them maybe like during learning time having an issue versus, you know, now that's over, now it's just home life? How do you separate those, and do you separate those?
That's such a great question. I remember looking at that question thinking, man, I don't know. I I think that's something that I am still learning. And I'm okay to admit that. Because something this pandemic has really done for me is a lot of introspection. Um, I I am one of those people that will automatically overreact, and I'm super emotional. So when my kid does something, I might be like, "Ah, why are you doing that?" And then I place my frustration onto them. So sometimes I just have to step back and see what they're doing. And then I try to treat it as that. So with school, like with MJ recently, with him just flat out saying no. He's not going to get on to his calls. He's not going to do his schoolwork. He's not going to read. He's not going to do X, Y, and Z. We've taken a different approach with that type of discipline. I wouldn't call it even discipline. We have taken him aside and we've talked to him. What is going on, MJ? Why are you feeling like this? How can we help you?
Mhm.
What we've tried to get to the root of it. His root is he thinks he's stupid. And he doesn't think he can keep up. So I think if I would have then like disciplined, look, you have to sit there and I have done that.
Mhm.
I actually have made him sit in his chair and be on with his teacher, Mrs. Squires. I have made him sit here. You're going to talk to her. And sometimes I have to do that. Like I have to just sit him in front of the computer or his iPad and I walk away until he's ready to get up with her. She's super patient. I have done that before. But I finally just asked him, why? Why are we doing this? He's old enough to understand why.
Mhm.
And he responded, I think I'm stupid. And so we've been able to talk to him about that. You're not stupid. Why do you think you're stupid? Well, the kids last year said I was stupid. So we've been able to really work through that. And then outside of that, when he does things outside of that, like I've tried to discipline differently and in my home life too with him, like not yelling, not reacting, but really trying to think why is he doing that, and trying to help him get to the root of that and like really help him have actual change, because I feel like that's important. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Maybe I'm looking too much into what culture is doing. I think it's a good movement. I think that's really great.
I do too. I have a 3-year-old grandson, and my daughter is, like, even if he's like crying and stuff like that, like when he's done, it's like, let's talk about it, like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you feeling this way? How are you feeling? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I raised mine in a different type of era, I guess, but
Yeah.
I see the things that parents are doing now, and I'm like, man, like if I only would have done that and thought about that, then like mine are adults now. But you know
Right.
what I mean? I thought about it then. And he's 3, and he'll tell her, like what's going on, like, because he used to get like frustrated and throw a toy if he couldn't get it to, like especially Legos, if he couldn't get it apart, or, it wasn't doing what he wanted it to do, he would get frustrated and throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, let's talk about it. And when he was a little younger, it's hard for him to
Yeah.
express it. But now that he's getting older, he's getting way more verbal and everything, and he's really working with him on expressing what's going on with him. And then, she'll help him come up with solutions. Well, what should have you have done instead of throwing it? How about ask for help? Use your words, ask mommy, ask Nana, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we're really talking about the issues and the things
Mm-hmm.
that she's seen as, like problem behavior, you know. And I think that as he grows older, that's really going to help him, especially in, those real adolescent years, you know, that they're going to
Yeah.
with communication, and he's going to be able to express more verbally to her like what's going on and what he's feeling.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a movement. I really think that that's definitely like a movement I'm down for. And you know,
Yeah.
great. I think it's great.
Yeah. And for MJ, he doesn't get out of it though. He still has to, even if he doesn't want to, he still has to follow through. So if he's like, I'm not going to get on, and I'm not, well, you're going to. We can talk about why you don't want to, and we'll continue to work on why, and we'll continue to get to that root. But you're still going to work with her, because my husband came up with a really great phrase. This is your job. You're a student, and you're going to show up to your job. And right now, your job is remote, and we're doing it virtually, and you're getting on, and your teacher has made time for you. To get on here, and she's willing to work with you, and your mom is willing to work with you, and we're working with you, and we're reading with you, and we're doing X, Y, and Z with you. And I think that's starting to click with him. He's like, Becky says, why does this have to be my job? I don't want to be a student anymore. He always goes, I quit and you can fire me. No and no.
This is not something you can quit or be fired from. Not
no.
For a while, anyway.
And then Aaron just kind of goes with the flow. He'll show he doesn't want to do it. But I feel bad. But he's done so much therapy and done so much that he just kind of accepts it. And definitely when he starts crying, or he's been hitting himself like this, I stop and I'm like, okay, guys, you can stop asking him questions, and I'm going to address Aaron, because you guys, like whoever is virtually, like he just started with a new speech therapist this week, a student through WVU. She was pushing him way too much. And I said, hold on, do you not see him hitting himself? That's a sign that whatever's going on is not okay. So instead of disciplining him, like, I'm just going to talk to him.
Right.
And so I just like block his hands, and we talk, like, I just comfort him and say, okay, we're angry, we're upset, something's going on, I'm not sure, but let's calm down and take a breath and breathe. And that's something else I've taught MJ. It's just because I need that. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it together.
Right.
I do that with Aaron a lot. But then when because he does get really upset, like if we don't give him his iPad, or if he gets with his school iPad, holy cow, he has approved school iPad stuff. And then that kid is the smartest kid with technology. He gets onto YouTube. And I'm like, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get flagged. And then they're going to come after us. And I'm going to be like, this kid can't even talk. But he can get on YouTube. And so I get him off of YouTube, and he just will throw the absolute fit. So we do address that, obviously.
Yeah.
We take away the iPad, and we help him through that. And then once he's calmed down, he can have it back.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And that's the same throughout his whole everything.
Yeah.
We want to teach him that just because you're throwing a fit doesn't mean you get something. Or just because I change something doesn't mean you need to go ahead and throw a fit. There's other ways you can show that you're upset. Right. So I talk through that. Like, I'm angry, I'm upset, or I'll get his AAC device and I'm mad. And he'll be like, I'm mad. Ah! And I'm like, that's right, we're angry. But that's what's really worked for us. But a lot of stuff, honestly, whatever we use in one area, I think we kind of use in all the areas. But with MJ, like, he just, especially with school, he just doesn't get out of it. In our home life, sometimes he gets out of stuff. And what I've learned with that, like behaviorally, like sometimes if I'm going to ask him to do something and then I realize, oh man, I shouldn't have said that, like I'll let him out of it quicker. I'm like, okay, we're not going to do that. And he's like, what? That was easy. Yep, that was easy. Do you remember those buttons? That was easy.
Yeah. Yeah. The red button.
Yep. I'm showing my age there, but yeah, I remember those.
So with having all 4 kids, like, what do you do to get them excited? Like, if they're like, oh, like, and they just don't want to that day, like, what are some of the things that you do to get them excited? Or if they've been doing work, but they just feel like, oh, I don't, because I know sometimes even doing my job and I'm throughout the day, you're just like, oh, you just get that like kind of grudgy, like I can't move,
Yeah.
sluggy feeling or whatever. So when the kids get that, because they're little humans,
Right.
what do you do to get them excited or get them moving and get them ready again or
We
rejuvenate?
do a lot of Go Noodle or the other guys. What are they called? The Cuckoo. What are they called? Cuckoo. I'm gonna look it up. Is it Cuckoo Kangaroo?
Oh, I'm not sure about that stuff.
Oh my gosh, MJ would know. And I put up cuckoo and it didn't come up correct. It came up as something totally different. I'm like, that's not it. Cuckoo Kangaroo. They do Cuckoo Kangaroo, which is like these, I think it's Cuckoo Kangaroo. It's these two guys. Yes. These two guys, like, I'll have to show you. Oh, it's probably not going to show very well. But it's these two guys that like do all these real, like, there's one called Everybody Poops. Yeah. And my kids think that's so funny. So we start our day a lot of times with like, let's do some Go Noodle or let's do Cuckoo Kangaroo. And they'll pick some random songs and we dance to them or we sing to them or we listen to them. And then that kind of gets them like in
moving.
Oh yeah,
flowing.
I think it's hilarious when I get up because like I used to be able to dance, so I'm like, yeah, look at these moves, and they're like, nope, those are not good moves, and I'm like, yes, I'm finally at the point where I can like embarrass you, and I'm like, whoa, you see that? Like, okay, but it gets us like all laughing, and we're in the, and that's the same kind of when MJ's kind of, or like Aaron's at like we get up and we move or we change position. Sometimes MJ just, if say he's sitting in one of these chairs, we'll go move. I'm like, this isn't working anymore. Let's go sit in the big comfortable chair downstairs. And he's like, yeah, let's go read down there. So we march and go down there. I try to make things interactive and fun. Or sometimes it's just like, let's have quiet time. And MJ loves to sit under his blanket. He puts the blanket over his head. So does Aaron. And I'm like, blanket time. And so we'll get under the blanket. MJ might have access to this iPad. Aaron have access to his iPad. And they just get to chill and zone out. Same thing with Genesis, the other one that does virtual learning. She doesn't have a disability, the opinionated one. She gets to do the same thing. We just zone out or we march around or we do an art and craft. They love to do arts and crafts. That's like very therapeutic to them. So we do that or sensory box or something just to kind of change them. Or snack time. We might make something. Genesis really likes to make a cake. And I'm like, oh, you want to make a cake? That's a lot of work. But then we do it because it's fun and we get to interact with each other. So just something different. I'm the same way. Like I can't just sit. Right. So I'm like, all right. And MJ wants to take a walk today. And I know it's kind of cold, but we're going to do it. He wants to go for a walk. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go for a walk and get some exercise and hang out and talk about what's going on outside. So yeah.
So do you make those times like a learning experience also?
Yeah, I try to. Like we'll talk about what we see or like the way it feels outside or if we see clouds or it's the sun out or that kind of stuff. Yeah. Or like what we hear. A lot of times because we're right down the street from the EMS, so we'll hear like the ambulance and that. MJ's really sensitive to sounds, and so is Aaron. So we talk about that a lot. Like, oh, did you hear it? Where are they going? What do you think? And then MJ gets really concerned about the people. So we talk about what kind of things EMS goes out for, and they get to learn about that. And then firefighters, and we start talking about the police officers. And so it's really good. Yeah.
Awesome.
And we call them brain breaks.
Yes.
Give your brain a break, right? Yes, sir.
I need to get some.
Oh, wait. Go for it, dude. That was MJ.
I think that you have given the parents who will be watching this some really great advice.
I hope so. I feel like I rambled
So
some.
much for allowing us to come in. But do you have anything final you would like to say, suggestions or any advice that we haven't already talked about?
Man, I would say that if you are still doing virtual, and that's awesome. I'm proud of you for continuing to do virtual. I know it's hard, because I know how I feel, and I think that it's good that you are doing the best for your kid, and that's all you can do. I know that sometimes it feels super lonely, but there's so many support groups that people have started with this pandemic, and reach out to people like Erika, reach out to different places. Again, my brain cells are not working right now, so I'm sure that there's different places that if you ask, you will find them. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm going to interrupt for just 1 second because you mentioned support groups. On the WVU Center for Excellence in Disabilities website, you can find 2 support groups. My coworker Tina does one on Tuesday evenings. They're every other week. She does one on Tuesday evenings at 7, and it's virtual. And then I hold mine on Wednesday during the day at 2 o'clock. We schedule them for an hour, but if parents need to be on longer than that, we are fine with that. So you can go to the website and you can register there, or you can contact me at, I'll just give my email address is Erika, ERIKA .Hastings, HASTINGS @hsc.wvu.edu. So
That's awesome. Yeah, and never feel bad about trying to do the best for your kid, because it's your child. And never feel bad about making your mental health a priority either, because that's what I'm learning right now. Because through all of this, and this is what I'm going through right now, I have made my kids a priority during this whole thing. And they have thrived. I have suffered. And I try to not make anything about me when it comes to my children. It is their story. It is their disability. They are autistic. I am not autistic. I'm not an autism mom. I'm a mom who has kids that are autistic. That's something I've learned. Like I have just grown so much in learning about like my kids' diagnosis and all this stuff. But my mental health has like severely suffered. Don't ever feel bad that you have to take care of yourself. I finally, probably in January, realized, man, if I don't take care of me, who's going to be here to take care of my kids? Like my health is suffering, my mental health is suffering. So I finally had to just say, it has to be my turn right now, because my kids need me. So don't feel bad that you might need to step back a little bit. You don't have to have so much therapy. You don't have to have so much. Your kids are going to be okay. They're going to thrive. Kids are resourceful. I saw somebody say, it's not about resources, it's about being resourceful. It's about resourcefulness. Like even with IEPs, if the IEP team says, oh, we don't have that, we don't have the resources for that. No, it's not about resources, it's about being resourceful. Okay, I'm sorry. So same thing with us. Our kids are resourceful. They will thrive. They'll be okay. Even if you think they're suffering, they will be okay. They won't be okay with if we're not there. Well, they'll be okay if we're not there, obviously, because we're all going to be okay in the end. But we have to take care of ourselves. And that is important.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something I didn't ask you that I probably should have. is, you know, about self-care and taking care of yourself. You know, I tell parents all the time, like, you need to take care of yourself also, you know, because if you don't take care of yourself and you kind of, you know, fall apart, then who's going to
Yeah.
care for the child? So yeah, it's
Right.
very important. And don't ever feel bad about taking that time for yourself,
Right.
because you need, you know, this self-care also. And whatever it
Right.
means to you and to the people out there watching, like, take some time for yourself.
And I didn't mean to say like our kids will be okay without us, because that's obviously they need us. I mean, we're here. But I've put off several doctor's appointments that were super important, where I thought I could possibly have cancer. And I kept putting them off because my kids had therapy. My kids have this, my kids have that. But I finally got to a point where I was in so much pain where I'm like, I have to go to the doctor. I have to just say sorry to these therapy people. Like, I'm sorry. And sometimes we have to think about, are our kids really thriving with so much therapy, so much stuff? Do they really need it all? Like, sometimes yes, but it's okay sometimes to take a break too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
It's
know.
okay for one day to be like, okay, I know we're supposed to have this therapy, but you know, we just need a break today. You
It's
know,
okay to take a mental break.
um, you know, and I say sometimes, you know, for me, I'm just like, I need a mental health day. I need to get myself together. I need to rejuvenate my body and my spirit. And I need that relax time, you know what I mean, that you get from that. So there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with taking that mental health break.
Yeah.
Not only does it help you, but it also helps the children, because when
Yeah.
we take time for ourselves, we are calmer, we are more relaxed, we can deal with their issues better, you know, we can make, you know, better decisions because we're thinking with a little bit of a clearer mind than if in our head it's like, you know, and just stressed and overwhelmed and all of that stuff. So not only
Right.
will it help us, but it'll definitely like help the children also.
Yeah. Because it really is a lot to be a special needs parent. And it's a lot to be a parent during this pandemic. So those two things combined, I mean, it's monumental. Like the pressure that I'm sure all of us feel on our shoulders. Um, but at this point, I mean, we need to give ourselves a break and have grace on ourselves and allow people to help us.
Right.
And allow those support groups, allow ourselves to be a part of those support groups. Take the time, make that our priority, and just and do the things that you need to do for your kids. Do those things that are the priority, of course, but make yourself part of that. Put yourself in that equation too, because it's pretty important too. Family time is important too. Whatever is important to you, find it and make that a priority. I would continue to fall apart, and I know that I wasn't making it. I was very close to. I was having mental breakdowns. My husband was very scared because I wasn't doing well. And that's what you don't see on social media. And that's okay. And I think that's what people need to realize too, because you only see a little bit of people on social media. So check on your friends, check on your family, especially those. And I think that's why support groups are so important. You can be open and honest. But I think also all the things that we talked about, all the people that you can reach out to help you with the process of IEPs, but also to realize like there's a bigger picture out there too than virtual schooling too, like their mental health,
Yeah.
and everything too. So everything is just so crucial, and I think this year has really brought to my attention like, and one other thing, like I'm just rambling, but one other thing that I realized as a part of the IEP team, as a parent, now that this year has happened and I have been the one that's the primary school person with my kids, boy, do I feel like the expert with the IEP team. Do not come at me and tell me what my kid needs. I will come at you and tell you what my kid needs. And I don't mean that in like in a way where I want to be combative, but I feel like I know my kids so much more now. And I can come to an IEP table. I can come to anybody now, or as they grow, where I feel confident in knowing here's where they really are at. Because I have been a part of it.
Right.
I have been down in the
ditch and
the dirt with them. Yeah, I have been here. I have been in tears with them. We have gone through this together. I have really seen it. I've been struggling with them. I've been with the teachers. I have sat right beside them and done the work with them. Oh, but that's something I also have really, I mean, I've learned so much, but I just think that the main thing is just to give yourself a break. There's Michael's head. Give yourself a break and just know that you're doing the best that you can, and you're awesome. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself. And there's so many good resources out there. I wish my brain would say, "Hey, these are them." But look at the oh my gosh, the Center for Excellence in Disabilities website. I'm sure there's so many on there. And Erika is a great resource. And there's so many great resources out there. And that's all I do. I take one step at a time and I say, "Hey, can you help me?" And then there's people that can help me. And that's the only way I make it.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on and chatting with me. I have said this before and I've told you this before. I think that you're awesome and I'm very proud of just knowing you and knowing everything that you've been through, and to see the kids strive and to see you so happy doing it. And I know there's been ups and downs, but just knowing you and everything, like I'm super proud of you, and I was very excited to be able to talk to you today and hear about all the different experiences and things that you're doing for the children. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
And we don't look anything alike, do we?
Bye.
She's so funny. Thank you so much.